Yo, it's Shaggy. It's Voice of Gambia. 1021 Shaggy on your dial. Well, I'm in the middle. Yeah.
24 hours of the best Caribbean music. You're listening to WZPP,
The new 96.1
FM.
100% of loving all night.
Yes, good afternoon. This is the Suzette Speak Show live. Yeah, we're enjoying some music here as we bring the show in. I want to welcome you. We have a lot of news to talk about. Good afternoon and welcome. I am Suzette Speaks, your hostess with the mostest here, your resident attorney / homegirl. I love to keep up with the news, social media trends, and hot topics. And of course, we have a lot to get into today. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Suzette Speaks is on the radio. I'm excited to be here with you. Happy Thursday. Of course, I want to big up my brethren, Young Trini, had us in a wonderful vibe. It is a Throwback Thursday here, and we are enjoying the vibes. Of course, we do some talk during the day here on Voice of the Caribbean to just keep you informed. Of course, we want to give the people the knowledge that they need to move through this world. Of course, the news comes at us faster and more furious each and every day. I am looking at some headlines here locally I want to share with you. And of course, we are looking at what's going on nationally. Because of everything happening, we have to stay on top of some of the latest news, right? We have been talking about, and I went into detail in my last show, about a gentleman who was wrongly deported from Maryland. This is an interesting story to me because if he had, at the time, legal status here in the United States, he had come as an immigrant. He was seeking to get asylum from the United States, saying that he was being persecuted in El Salvador. And he was incorrectly picked up and sent to one of the most notorious, one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. And he was ordered by the Supreme Court. It was ordered by the Supreme Court that he should be brought back in a vote of 9 justices to 0, 9-0, that he should be brought back to the United States. And unfortunately, the Trump administration seems to be taking a stand that it will not follow the court's demands, the court order, that it facilitate the return of this gentleman. Again, his name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. His last name is hyphen or dual last name, Abrego Garcia. And he has been sitting in what is called Secot, C-E-C-O-T, Secot prison in El Salvador. And we saw earlier this week a visit to the White House by the Salvadorian president, and Mr. Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, seemed to make it a joke when asked whether he was going to be able to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia. Mr. Garcia, in this case, as the Supreme Court has ordered, as a lower court had ordered, so that this mistake that the government made what they call an administrative mistake, right? And sent this man who has no criminal record, who had not been arrested in the United States and has no criminal record in the United States, overseas, back to the country of his origin, but without what we call due process, without a court hearing, without him being able to make his side of the story known before a court, before a judge, so that his rights could be protected and that he could make a stand on his own behalf without any due process. He was sent back to El Salvador, but to this super max prison. And therefore, his family, his wife, has been petitioning for the Trump administration to follow what the court has ordered, which is to bring this man back. If you illegally and incorrectly deported him in the first place, he has no business being in El Salvador in a supermax prison. He had not committed a crime, and he was trying to he was here lawfully. He was trying to submit his petition for asylum to the United States. He had been living here 14 years in Maryland, married to a U.S. citizen, has a child, 5 years old. And can you imagine what it must have been like for ICE agents to show up on his doorstep and tell him, hey, you got to go. Your status has changed, is what they told him. He was shocked. He was not allowed to contact his attorney. He was not allowed the due process that is required by law. And now we see that today, I want to shout out this U.S. Senator who bravely decides to go over to El Salvador because the Trump administration is not listening to the court. Right now, it looks like we have a very, very weak judiciary. You have the Supreme Court that has ordered 9-0 that because of this administrative error, this man should be brought back to the United States. You have the presidents of the United States, Donald Trump, and of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, meeting in the Oval Office this week. And when asked about it, they both kind of laughed it off and pushed it aside. But the latest update now, folks, is that a United States senator went himself to El Salvador to try to get contact with this young man. And in El Salvador, the Democratic United States senator who went to go look about the Maryland father who was sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador incorrectly by the United States government. It seems as if the United States senator who went, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, traveled to El Salvador to try to see where is this gentleman and what is he doing and will he be allowed to return to the United States as ordered by the courts. Now, Donald Trump is saying he doesn't have the power, and the president of El Salvador is saying he doesn't have a power. Now, wait a minute. You telling me the United States president doesn't have a power to bring back a person from El Salvador, the country that the United States has decided to pay to hold migrants, illegal migrants, and many of whom they are accusing of being terrorists, but without proof, including Mr. Abrego Garcia, who has not been proven to be any type of terrorist. Now you're looking at what happened yesterday. Mr. Van Hollen, a United States senator, took it upon himself to go visit El Salvador and go, knock. Hello, somebody. Can somebody please tell me where this man is and can he come home? Because if the president of the United States is ignoring the court order to bring him home, and he was wrongfully sent to a supermax notorious prison, wouldn't you, if it were you and your family, someone in your family who had legal status here in the United States, who was being given the opportunity to make their case before the United States government as to why they should be granted citizenship. He was following the rules, y'all. But the United States, in a clerical error, sent this man to one of the most notorious prisons in the world incorrectly. And a judge has ordered that he be brought back. And the Trump administration is dragging its feet and is coming up with all kinds of excuses saying that he cannot be brought back. Now, like I said, we had a visit from a U.S. Senator, Chris Van Hollen, who represents Maryland, where this gentleman was living for the last several years. So he went to see where this father of three was being wrongfully held. 2 days after, Republican lawmakers toured the facility and posted photos from inside. But the Maryland senator, United States senator, hit the like button. Those who were watching online, shout out to the people. I didn't even start the recording. Hold on, let me start the recording on the app side. Big up everybody watching on the apps. Yeah, this is live radio. I gotta do your resident attorney and to keep you updated with what's going on in the community. Also want to tell you about a food giveaway that's going on locally. If you're up in Broward County, the city of Lauderdale Lakes will be providing, while supplies last, a food distribution day sponsored by Broward County Commissioner Hazel Rogers. That will be tomorrow on Friday, starting from 9:30 a.m. to 10. It's a drive-through food distribution. If you're looking for food distribution, if you're in need of goods, please check it out. I'm sure you can find more information also on social media. We also want to let you know we have a big celebrity football match. By football, we mean soccer, but you know this is Voice of the Caribbean, so we say football. There's a big celebrity football match coming up at the Lauderhill Sports Complex Memorial Weekend, Monday on the 26th, May 26th, 2025. We will be, the Voice of the Caribbean, along with Just the Flex Studio and Unleashed Sound Entertainment presents the Celebrity Football Match and After Party, where we will have Artists versus Media Houses. I love that theme. Sponsored by Lauderhill Commissioner Richard Campbell. Richard Campbell, thank you for your support of this wonderful event. Again, this will be Memorial Weekend. I know people like to be out and with the family, but we have a celebrity soccer tournament in the city of Lauderhill at the Lauderhill Sports Complex. You know it, on Oakland Park Boulevard, the big soccer field. And that will be coming up on Monday, May 26, 2025. Sponsored by Voice of the Caribbean, Justiflex, and Unleashed Sound. So we're excited to be hosting that. I also wanted to bring to your attention a big case. I love to bring you things from a legal angle because I am an attorney and I also like to keep up with what is happening. I want to bring something to your attention when it comes to Harvard University. Now, Harvard is the oldest university in the United States, probably the most prestigious in the United States, maybe even can compete with the universities around the world for its notoriety, right? And the success of its graduates. And we're looking at a case also with Harvard versus the administration, and Harvard seems to be standing its ground against the Trump administration. Now, this is a real case that's happening right now, and it's something that you should know about, even though, like I said, it's Harvard. A lot of people don't understand the real significance of a top university that is under attack by the Trump administration. What do you mean by that, Suzette? I'm saying that this administration wants to determine what it is that the university teaches. It wants to be able to audit the classes because they want to strip Harvard of the ability to discuss anything that has to do with the Middle East in terms of trying to prevent what they're calling anti-Semitism. Now, we have to take the context into consideration. Remember, about a year ago, during the protest on several college campuses across the United States, including Harvard, there were many students and activists that were on university campuses that wanted to stand up against what was happening in Palestine. And this seems to be, some are arguing, retribution and an opportunity to get back at some of the universities that did not, in fact, limit student free speech, meaning that students were allowed to openly protest, students were allowed to openly say that they did not believe in what was happening in terms of the United States support of Israel during this war with the folks in Gaza. And because of that, it seems like the Trump administration is trying to crack down on Harvard's ability to support international students. And they have now, and to receive international students, because that's one of the biggest things the United States is an exporter of, which is education, right? There are tons of people that come to the United States who are non-citizens, come from other countries and come here to be educated. Well, the Trump administration said it wants to crack down on Harvard's ability to have international students because they are refusing to end their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The administration, Trump's government, Trump's administration wants Harvard to end its programs when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really get rid of any staff and students that stand against the war in Israel or have in the past used their First Amendment rights to do so. So when we're looking at what is happening at Harvard, Harvard said it won't do it. And Trump has threatened to take away federal funding from Harvard. And that is to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. They are trying to say, according to the Washington Post, Trump threatening to freeze and has now frozen. Trump freeze on $2.2 billion to Harvard is what we're looking at, because they are not complying with, capitulating with, trying to do what he says they need to do. And they have been the first large institution, y'all, that has stood up to Trump, which is monumental right now, because people are saying if Trump is attacking parts of the media, for example, with the Associated Press, not allowing them a press pass, not allowing them to get into White House briefings anymore because he didn't like that Associated Press was not using the words Gulf of America, and instead was still calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Mexico, banning certain press outlets that don't agree with him and don't give the news or ask the questions that he likes. He has been removing access for certain news outlets, including the Associated Press. Now we see a turn to higher education, which is colleges and universities, where he's threatening the use of federal dollars and federal funding, removing those so that they will comply with his demands. So according to CNN, about 24 hours after the Trump administration said it would freeze more than $2.2 billion in federal grants and contracts, which are monies that Harvard uses for research, for faculty, for all kinds of stuff that benefits the common good, the society at large. So Harvard University's research departments are now like, okay, we're gonna have to cut back on a lot of stuff, but they have an endowment. However, according to CNN, the impact is already acute at Harvard School of Public Health, where professors are scrambling to salvage their research, for example, into cancer, into tuberculosis. There is so much research in the United States. That's one of the things that we export, right? Our ability and our advanced university systems and research systems, that's one of the things that we are better at a lot of times. And when I see it, it really, really bothers me that we have a system right now where we have the Trump administration threatening Harvard and saying, we're going to take away money from you unless you comply with our demands. Should an administration, regardless Republican, regardless of Democrat, should the President of the United States have the authority to to tell private universities that are supposed to be the home of free speech, freedom of assembly, right, to protest? All of us have that according to the Constitution. You have the freedom to assemble. Should the government of the United States, the President of the United States, be allowed to tell Harvard, you can't do any of those things, or you should crack down on students who have done those things, and we want to audit your classes, we want to audit what you're teaching, for example, in your Middle Eastern Studies department and those things, we want to audit. We want to make sure, quote unquote, you're teaching the right things. How much power should the government have over private education? Well, Harvard is the first institution that has officially made a stand and said it will not allow the Trump administration to bully it and tell it what to do, what to teach, what to cut as far as its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. They say they're not cutting anything. They're not going to do it. And so the Trump administration has responded by taking away $2.2 billion of federal grants to the nation's oldest university, most prestigious, many would argue, university. And it's also, thankfully, because it can take a stand, because it's also the nation's richest university. It has over $50 billion in an endowment. This is basically an investment plan from alumni. Alumni give it a lot of money. Other sources give it money, and they invest the money in order to keep funding high at Harvard. However, if it didn't have this endowment, if it didn't have it, would it stand up the way it is right now to the Trump administration? Many would argue. A lot of other universities, even law firms, we've talked about it here on this show, how many law firms have now stated they don't want to be put on what would be called the quote unquote blacklist for Trump. They don't want to be on the you can't get government contracts and represent the government anymore because you don't agree with Trump or because you helped Kamala Harris or other Democrats. You can no longer get federal contracts. So there are many law firms who have also given in and said, you know what, President Trump, we don't want to be in an executive order removing our ability to make money. So they have rolled over, many would argue, and given up their freedom of speech to represent whoever the heck they want to, and say, Mr. Trump, we'll give you pro bono for causes and for groups that you agree with. Please just don't take away our ability to make money. And we've seen it happen over and over again. The institutions that are supposed to be standing up for people are afraid of him. But is Harvard the first? And what will happen as a result? Because it has emerged as like a new symbol of the resistance to President Trump. And again, it has refused to capitulate to any of the Trump demands. And now it's being punished by removing $2.2 billion of its funding. We're going to get more into the Harvard story. I want to also get back to the story of the gentleman who was taken to El Salvador illegally, incorrectly by the Trump administration, and who has been ordered to be brought back, but the Trump administration has not moved a finger and saying they can't. Are the courts still the courts? And do they have the power to order even the government to do what's right? You guys stay locked. I got to take a quick break. You can listen to us every Thursday and Friday. Suzette Speaks Show. 92.7 WZOP Fort Lauderdale, 96.1 Hollywood, 94.3 Miami. Don't go nowhere. More Suzette Speaks right after this break.
Personal injury lawyer Samuel Tingsky have been helping the Florida class with personal injury, workers' compensation, medical malpractice, negligent security, wrongful death, and sexual abuse cases. We know it is impossible to go longer than 5 minutes before you hear a commercial from another personal injury lawyer. I am here today to tell you there's a difference in who you choose to represent you in your personal injury case. Experience and client service matters when it comes to choosing your personal injury lawyer. When you call Samuel Gotinsky on his personal cell phone, you will get attention until your case is over. You can call him or text him day or night on his cell phone at 954-995-3805. 954-995.
Hit the like button, y'all. I'm live on the radio. Hope everybody's good. I'm trying to decide whether I should do some Facebook Live or if I should stay here. But I think I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer. And remember, you can catch me every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Hit the like button, please, and share, comment. Let me know what you think about these cases I'm discussing. I appreciate you watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
For more information, 954
Let me take a seat real quick.
3805 954. It's a birthday celebration for the Queen herself, the Queen Stephanie. It's
everything can go wrong.
Music by King Richie
Accidentally hit
Poole.
something. Accidentally hit something. But anyway, let me know how y'all feeling. Let me fix my hair. I'm gonna try to do a recording on the other end.
Moments nightclub and restaurant located at 4260 North.
I want to get more into the Harvard story. Hope everybody's having a beautiful day. And let me see if I have any local news to tell the people. 1 second, please. But I'm trying not to get a copyright strike. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody watching. Let me see if I can get more about this Harvard case. What's up, everybody? I'm live on the radio, taking a quick commercial break. If you're just tuning in, I'm live every Thursday and Friday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Hope everybody's good. Just discussing some news, some hot topics, top stories. So throw a comment in there if you have a story you want to talk about or you want me to mention or give my opinion on. Shout out to everybody watching. Thank you. Hit the like button, please.
Super sound 5
Just make sure.
All right, we are on commercial, but I don't want to play the music because I don't want to get another copyright strike. Hence why I'm not monetized at the moment. So I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. Happy Thursday. We're on commercials.
Innocent and Ironheart Sound. Super Twitch birthday celebration. Super Twitch on Saturday, May 24th, 2025 at the Mirror.
So I'm gonna turn down the volume because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Drop a note. Let me know you're watching. If you're watching, shout out to everybody watching. Let me know if you're watching. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Let me see what I want to do here. Hit the like button, please. Thank you. I need some water.
Smiley's Voice Foundation 11th Annual Strokes Awareness and Prevention Healthcare and Family Fund.
Gotta stay moisture.
Advisor, Sister Alberta, wants you to know that she's
1 minute or about 1 minute and a half of commercials left, and then I'll be right back on live on the radio. If you guys don't know, I'm an FM radio host here in Miami, and you can listen to me online as well, voiceofthecaribbean.com. And we're just doing some live shows every Thursday and Friday. I'm just looking up at the monitor. I can see all around the studio who's in different rooms. So you see me looking up. I'm also looking at the TV monitors. Apparently there's a shooting at FSU right now in Tallahassee, 4 injured. That is on the news, breaking news. So I'm gonna also tell my listeners about that since it's Florida related news. So I'm also watching what's going on in other studios, watching what's going on in the news. So let me see if it's been picked up here, FSU shooting. And I'll give people a quick news brief about that as well. FSU school shooting. Active shooter right now at FSU. Wow. All right, so I'll have to give my listeners that heads up when we get back on the air. But again, my broadcast area is from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, all the way to Palm Beach. So people are listening all over, and I have people watching online, not only on the YouTube side, but watching online as well. So we are busy today, busy. I love this angle. I'm gonna keep this angle because y'all can see the studio. You can see all what's going on. Our flyers, our sponsor flyers, Caribbean Airlines. We have, ooh, I didn't look at the list of who's gonna be at the celebrity soccer tournament. I'm actually excited about this. Let's go. Let's go. This is gonna be fun. That's Memorial Weekend. I'll be over there. But let's see. Active shooter at FSU. Multiple patients have been hospitalized after active shooter reported at Florida State University. School sent an alert to urging students to seek shelter. Police were on the scene. Blah blah blah. The FBI is responding. Okay. Thank everybody on camera. All right. So Florida. So okay. I have to definitely let people know about this active shooter situation. I want to get back into the Harvard standing up to President Trump. Wow, yeah. Read a little bit more about that, talk a little bit more about that, and then I also wanted to talk about this gentleman going to El Salvador illegally. So appreciate everybody watching. Hit the like button, please. Or email at teddyupholstery@gmail.com. Teddy Upholstery is located. All right, I'm about to hit back on the air. We do commercials at the top and the bottom of each.
So I'm gonna tell them about them. No, you must be mad, we couldn't do that. Foundation from birth, yeah man, a low culture. Say, representing for the voice of the Caribbean, Jamaica and far beyond.
24 hours of the best Caribbean music. You're listening to WZPP,
the new 96.1
FM.
Yo, it's Shuggy. It's Voice of Caribbean. 102.1 Shuggy on your dial. We can well. I mean, know that. Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon. Suzette Speaks live on the radio. Big up everybody listening. What's up? You know I'm live every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I'm the hostess with your mostest, giving you news, giving you information. I'm also an attorney, so I like to bring in legal aspects of what's happening in the world around us. I give you news. I try to break it down in a relatable way. And, of course, I want to bring you hot topics, of course, latest headlines. And in that regard, I'm watching on NBC 6 as well as reading online here on NBC News that unfortunately there is an active shooter situation in Tallahassee, Florida on the FSU campus. If you have students there, I would check in on them. I wanted to bring you this as of 1:34, 4 minutes ago. NBCnews.com is reporting that there is an active shooter situation on the FSU campus, Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. What we know so far, NBC is reporting multiple patients have been hospitalized after an active shooter was reported at Florida State University's campus in Tallahassee. The school sent out an alert urging students to seek shelter as a shooter was reportedly in the area of the student union. Again, this is Suzette Speaks live. And of course, as we come on live on the air, there is some news out of Tallahassee, Florida. There is an active shooter being reported in Tallahassee around FSU's campus near the Student Union. This FSU shooting is reminiscent of a 2014 shooting that took place, and we want to make sure we're guiding everyone properly into what is happening. Again, this is happening right now. The 134 update on NBCnews.com just has alerted us that police were on the scene according to the alert, and the school has sent out a text message to all of its students to take shelter. I am watching live on breaking news on NBC6 News here in Miami. Reports that students are on lockdown, taking shelter from the library to all the other public buildings around the campus. So if you know of a student at FSU, our hearts and minds are with them, but this is an active situation, and I do want to bring you breaking news as it happens. So according to the FBI, we are seeing reports from the FBI that they have been responding to the scene at Florida State University as the campus, city, and statewide officials have convened at the school. Remember, this is the Tallahassee area where the state capitol is. Right now, our lawmakers are in session, meaning they are meeting at the state capitol right now, making laws during the lawmaking period in the state of Florida, what we call session, where they meet, all 120 members of the Florida State House of Representatives and all 40 members of the Florida State Senate, meaning the state of Florida's body, the legislature, meets in Tallahassee around this time of year. So the state legislature is in session, and therefore there's a lot of people in and around the state capitol around this time of year. Of course, Florida State University, one of the flagship universities of the state of Florida, is highly populated, very large campus, and right now it seems at least 4 people have been hospitalized at Florida State University due to this active shooter situation right now. According to NBC News, the special report coming out, NBCnews.com as well, from the news affiliate NBC6 Miami, we're seeing that at least 4 people are now hospitalized at Florida State University. If you do have family, if you do have friends at Florida State University, please check in on them. The FBI has just reported as of 1:34 today, Thursday, the FBI is responding to the scene at the FSU campus. Again, it is close to the state house, the state capitol, where the Florida Senate and the Florida House of Representatives are in session. So it appears that city officials as well as state officials are convening at the school, according to a spokesperson for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, which is on the scene. The staff at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare is receiving and caring for patients. We're hearing right now, as of this show, 4 people have been taken to a local hospital at the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare system, and they are currently receiving care for what happened as a result of an active shooter, okay, from a reported shooting at the university. A representative for the hospital said in a statement just a few minutes ago this afternoon. State legislators are seeking information about the active shooter situation at FSU, according to the Florida House of Representatives Speaker of the House, Danny Perez, telling NBC News. But we are thinking of everybody on campus, Perez said. Our prayers are with the Florida State community at this moment. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Suzette Speaks Show Live, just giving you a quick news update. We are on the air just to inform, but also keep you abreast of everything that is happening, impacting our community. We have a lot of students that come from South Florida that head up to Florida State. And so we are concerned, and our thoughts are with the Florida State campus community. At least 4 people are now hospitalized after an FSU shooting. We're going to keep you informed as much as we can. This is happening in Tallahassee on Florida State University's campus. So as I'm getting the news, I will update you before the end of my show. Again, I want to turn again from this FSU story. And if you remember back in 2014, there was a November 2014, an alumni alumnus of the university shot an employee and 2 students at Stroger Library. I can actually tell you, my brother went to FSU. I've been inside Stroger Library. So the shooter at that time in 2014 was fatally shot. We do not have information just yet on the current shooter here at FSU in Tallahassee, but here at the Voice of the Caribbean, we're going to keep you updated with the latest. And we just wanted to let you know, again, breaking news in Tallahassee, right, the state capital. At least 4 people have been hospitalized after a shooting at Florida State University in and around, apparently, the reports are saying, the student union, which is probably the most active place on campus. So this is live radio, guys. I'm going to give you more information as I get it on what's happening in Tallahassee. I do want to pivot back to what's happening at Harvard University. Harvard University is the first major organization to stand up to the Trump administration by stating that it will not do as the Trump administration asked, because it says it is an independent entity and no government, no Republican, no Democrat, no matter who's in the White House should be able to tell a private university, right, a place of learning, a place where we're supposed to have protected exchange of ideas, no matter what the ideas are, that we need these safe spaces where people and scholars and thought leaders can come together, professors, and write what needs to be written, talk about what needs to be talked about, and say what needs to be said, protest what needs to be protested, because it is their right as a place of higher learning, as an institution of higher learning, and that no government, none, not even the Trump administration, should be able to limit what it's able to do. Now, why did Trump want Harvard to change? Well, this is what they were asking. Why is all of this happening? Well, the Trump administration wanted Harvard to eliminate any diversity, equity, and inclusion programs it had across the campus. It also wanted them to ban masks at protests. Why? Because Trump administration now is going after students with visas, students who are visiting from other countries who are here to study, students with visas, and trying to deport them for saying that they are anti-quote Semitic by protesting on campuses. Now, many of those students who are lawfully here, they came to study, they were approved to come and stay at these universities and take classes and hopefully graduate. They're supposed to be here to facilitate this exchange of ideas from literally scholars all over the world. Most of our universities across this country, public and private, have tons of students from overseas, because we are about, the expansion of knowledge, and knowledge is not just limited to people who live in the United States. Knowledge comes from all corners of this world, and the best and brightest are given the opportunity to come together in hopefully an environment that is able to allow them to speak up and to speak out as they need to. But unfortunately, we're seeing that the Trump administration is trying to limit Harvard's ability to educate and facilitate a safe environment for folks and students to exchange ideas. So the Trump administration said, hey, Harvard, you better eliminate diversity and inclusion, or I'm going to pull your funding. No more masks allowed. We want to see who is protesting at your college, because they don't have a right to protest. Actually, they do. Under the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the freedom to assemble, they actually do have a right to speak up and speak out. That's what we actually want to encourage to happen at universities, the new exchange of ideas, the free exchange of ideas. What is right? What is wrong? What does society need? Among professors as well. The research that is done changes lives, changes the world. He also wanted Harvard to enact what he's called merit-based hiring and admissions reforms and reduce the power of faculty and administrators. The Republican administration, Trump administration, has called more committed to the activism than scholarship, meaning anyone on their campus that disagrees with how the Trump administration believes students should be handled, student protests should be handled, should not be there any longer, and he wants to fire them. But the university president, the current Harvard University president, Mr. Alan M. Garber, on Monday he wrote, the university will not surrender its independence or its constitutional rights. That's from the president of Harvard, Alan M. Garber. He said the Ivy League school, which is located near Boston, will be, and again appears to be, the first elite university to rebuke the White House's demands, according to CNN, which Trump officials says are aimed to combat. They're using this term, anti-Semitism. This is why they want to get rid of all this diversity. This is why they want to know who's protesting, because those kids, those students are anti-Semitic. So we have to remove them. We're going to remove their visas. They have arrested a couple of them already. People who were here legally as students with proper student visas. They are arguing because of the stance that they took, because they disagree with the United States government, they have no right to be here. And the Trump administration is using that term, that cloak term, anti-Semitic. They are against prejudiced against Jewish people and people from the background and the faith from the Middle East that has been historically persecuted. But they are arguing, the students are arguing, it is their right to be against the war. They are not against the people. They're against the war and what it's doing to decimate the people of Gaza. Well, no longer. So Harvard appears, according to CNN, to be the first elite university to rebuke the White House's demands, which Trump officials say aims to combat, according to Trump and his White House, the anti-Semitism following the contentious campus protests in response to the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. However, Harvard's peers have been quick to offer their support to the university. The White House is also rooting out DEI practices designed to advance racial, gender, class, and other representation in public spaces. But the United States government under Trump is calling it illegal to think about women, to think about people with physical disabilities and learning disabilities, to think about people from different racial backgrounds, religious backgrounds, in contemplating how they admit students, in contemplating how they hire faculty. The richness of diversity is what builds strength of many would argue, a university of campus. Thought diversity, thought leadership. Instead now, we are seeing, for the first time, Harvard saying, take the federal money. We are not going to be blackmailed and we're not going to be threatened in doing what the administration wants us to do, which is to stop teaching and stop allowing students to have a free speech right, which everyone should have. They're not going to give away their constitutional rights. So if it takes them saying no to federal money, that we're talking about $2.2 billion, and the fallout is already being felt at Harvard, the research they're doing on campus, some of these researchers are researching cures to cancer, cures to tuberculosis, cures of all kinds. They're thinking that they're going to have no funding because Trump administration now has frozen $2.2 billion, saying, Harvard, do what I say or else. But Harvard is the first institution to now stand up and say, Trump, you cannot tell everybody what to do. And if they don't do what you want them to do, you're going to take the money. Take the money. Take the money. Because we have a responsibility to protect our own students and their constitutional rights, our constitutional rights as a university. Who are you to tell us what we can and can't do with our student admissions? Who are you to tell us what we can and can't teach in our programs? You want to do an audit of what? Take the money. That they can't protest? But see, what happens is most of the protests that we know, most of the protest movements in recent history in the United States began with students. So what happens if the Trump administration is allowed to crack down and tell universities, I won't give you funding if you don't tell us who these students are, and we're going to revoke their visas. They have no right to be here. You can't come here to protest. Well, Harvard said, no, not us, honey. No, not us. According to Harvard's a statement by Harvard, universities have a responsibility to uphold civil rights laws and to stop this type of overreach by the government. Trump administration is arguing that universities have the responsibility to stop harassment of Jewish students. The Trump administration wrote on Monday regarding the Harvard funding freeze without citing any examples. No firm examples of this happening. It is time, according to Trump administration officials, it is time for elite universities to take this problem seriously and commit to meaningful change if they wish to continue receiving taxpayer support. You know, he's threatening now to remove Harvard University's tax exempt status from the IRS. This is where we're moving to. Trump officials have also revoked the visas of more than 525 students, faculty, and researchers at over 80 United States universities and colleges. Some are high-profile cases involving alleged support of terror organizations, while others involve relatively minor offenses such as years-old misdemeanors. So they are looking for the young people who have been, quote-unquote, the troublemakers, and revoking their visas left and right, saying, go home, get out of here. But Harvard has taken a stand and said, even if you pull our money, we're not going to remove their First Amendment right to free speech, to the right to assemble, the right to protest. It is not your right, government, to tell people what they can and cannot say on campus. And according to Harvard, to use these false pretenses called anti-Semitism to stifle free speech. So according to the Trump administration, it just seems to be that they are trying to force Harvard to do and say what it wants it to do and say. But Harvard's president is saying, no, not us. We're going to hold the line. And of course, they have lost now. The Trump administration has frozen $2.2 billion of funding from Harvard. But thankfully, Harvard is one of the richest, or the richest school in the United States, the richest university, and it has an endowment that could fill in the gap if they choose to. But it is going to be inevitable that important research in the short term is going to be harmed by the federal government making sure to remove some of Harvard's funding because they're not doing what the Trump administration says they ought to be doing. John Shaw, the vice provost for research at Harvard, emailed colleagues Tuesday evening asking them to notify their offices for sponsored programs of any funding disruptions they are aware of. And he said, while there will inevitably be important research that will suffer as a result of the funding freeze, we are asking for your help in assessing how best to preserve vital work and support our researchers, he wrote. So the funding freeze threatens as much as, right now, $2.2 billion has been frozen. It can go up to $9 billion in federal funds for Harvard. Beyond the practical implications of losing those funds, it is not clear how far this standoff will go because Harvard is saying, no, we're not going to end our diversity programs. We're not going to crack down on our student protesters. We're not going to end our programs when it comes to faculty and making sure they are diverse and what they research and how they teach. You will not be able to audit what goes on in our classrooms. Nope, you can't do that. We're not going to give you the power to take over our university. You are the federal government. We are independent of you. It is not for you to tell us what is important to teach and not to teach. Not at no university level. Not at a place of free exchange of ideas. That's what a university is supposed to be. And you trying to come into our university and tell us what we can and cannot do, we won't take your money. Harvard is the first large institution to finally tell the Trump administration, not us. You can't make us do what you want us to do. We're not going to be a vessel of you and extension of the government. We are an independent educational institution. And it is our right to operate as we would like to and we see fit in accordance to the Constitution and the First Amendment. And we're not going to limit the rights of students for your benefit because you guys don't want to see protests on campus. No, we're not doing that. We'll see where this goes. But several members of Harvard's Board of Oversight referred CNN to the university's press office. University also declined further requests for interviews of the president, Alan Garber. But the concerns over what this administration is doing and how it's trying to force Harvard's hand by using the guise of anti-Semitism to say that we need to get those students out of your university right now, or else you won't get federal funding. We want you to cut your DEI, your diversity, equity, and inclusion programs right now, or you won't get no funding. The federal government is a separate entity that does not control universities or should not, and has not in the past. And this is the first organization, Harvard University, to say you will not control us. We'll see where this goes. We'll see because others are now reporting that the university may lose its tax exempt status from the IRS. So the IRS, according to the Trump administration, they will pull that card and make the IRS rescind funding and rescind its tax exempt status, according to two sources familiar with the matter, as well as the decision by the federal government to stop granting visas to foreign students who make up more than a quarter of Harvard's enrollment. Wow. It's unclear where this is going to go, but this is the first people to say no, not on our watch to President Trump. Again, we're reporting that now 6 people are hospitalized in Tallahassee, Florida. Breaking news. There has been reports of an active shooter at Florida State University in Tallahassee right now. We are seeing reports from NBC6. As of this show, 6 people have now been hospitalized. We're going to keep this in our prayers and our thoughts. We will give you more updates as we get them. This is Suzette Speak Show. Remember, you can watch me live every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., but keep it locked all the time to Voice of the Caribbean Radio. Again, 92.7 FM WZOP Fort Lauderdale, 96.1 Hollywood, Florida, and Miami, 94.3 FM. I'm appreciative of all my listeners. Thank you for keeping it locked online and on the YouTube side. Lisa B up next. Don't go nowhere. More Voice of the Caribbean Radio right after this.
To go longer than 5 minutes before you hear a commercial from another person in July.
Hi, Suzette. Oh, I'm so triggered. My son was there in 2014. It was his second week of school.
Oh, when he did? Well, he was there during the first time.
And he could hear the shots from his room.
Yes. See you guys. Thank you for watching.